Hi everyone, welcome to my channel International Storyteller. In this channel, you will find true horror stories worldwide. These stories are for entertainment purposes only. In this video, I will tell you the haunting story of the Silver Run Tunnel. The Silver Run Tunnel is an old train tunnel that is said to be haunted by the ghost of a white lady. It is not far from the little town of Cairo, in the US state of West Virginia. Many years ago, this tunnel was used by the train passing through the North Bend Rail Trail. The North Bend Rail Trail railway line stretches 115 kilometers, or 72 miles, and has many tunnels. These tunnels were built during 1867 and 1870, just after the American Civil War. By the late 1950s, railroad freight cars or transport cargo trains were getting taller and wider. The old narrow and low tunnels create a problem because of the difficulty of getting the larger train body through the tunnels. The railway officials decided to do a clearance project, that is to widen the old tunnels and raise the roofs so that the new cargo trains can pass through them very easily. As part of this project, the roofs of some of the tunnels were cut and removed, but 10 of the original old tunnels were never touched and remain still today. Among these 10 tunnels, the one that was haunted by the White Lady is tunnel number 19, which is also known as the Silver Run Tunnel. This tunnel is 420 meters, or 1,376 feet long. In the 1980s, the railway line passing through Silver Run Tunnel was abandoned. Today, this place where the Silver Run Tunnel stands is an abandoned place with many empty houses nearby and is covered with fog. The railway line passing through Silver Run Tunnel is used regularly by hikers and bikers. This tunnel is attracted to hundreds of visitors annually due to the presence of the ghost of the White Lady that is haunting the tunnel. So who is this White Lady, and what is the story behind the haunting at the Silver Run Tunnel? In order to know this, let us hear the true haunted story of Silver Run Tunnel. Back in the day, the Silver Run Tunnel was a heavily traveled line by train between the cities in US states Maryland and Ohio. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, the trains went through Silver Run Tunnel on an hourly basis. During that time, people claimed to have seen the ghostly figure along the tracks at the tunnel. The ghostly figure looks like a young woman with pale skin and dressed in a long white gown. Train engineers and crew would often see her standing in the center of the rail track. Whenever a train goes along the tunnel, if the train speed slows down or stops inside the tunnel, then it means the train engineer has seen the ghost of the White Lady for the first time. This means that a new engineer of a train passing through the tunnel would stop his train whenever he show the woman, who is actually a ghost. When the new train engineer and crew stopped to check if their train had run over somebody, they found no one inside the tunnel. But if a train engineer just passed through the tunnel without slowing down, then he had an experience with the ghost of the White Lady, and he is not going to stop his train for the ghost. This is because the ghost used to haunt the tunnel by standing in the middle of the rail tracks. The engineer, who already had the experience of the ghost, would just pass through the tunnel as fast as they could, because he knew the person standing on the track inside the tunnel was a ghost, and he didn't have to worry about it. There are many real incidents about the encounter with the White Lady of the Silver Run Tunnel. One late night in August 1910, a young engineer was making his way on the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad line outside of the little town of Cairo in West Virginia. The train starts its journey from Grafton and heading toward Clarksburg and then to the city of Parkersburg in West Virginia. It was a long run, and it was dark along much of the railway line. The rail track mostly passed between the few tiny towns that were surrounded on both sides by forest and steep hillsides. Everything was fine for the young engineer from Grafton to Clarksburg. Then the young engineer came upon the short stretch of railway at the entrance to Silver Run Tunnel. There, he saw a young woman dressed in white standing in the center of the tracks. At that moment, the young engineer was horrified that his train would hit the woman. He tried desperately to stop the train by pulling the brakes into emergency. But he could not stop his train in time. So, he blew his whistle to warn her, but the woman just turned and stared at him. When the train was about to hit the woman, she flew up into the air and disappeared into the dark night. The young engineer thought that his train had hit the woman. So he stopped the train and got out to search the tracks for the woman. The young engineer and the other crews from the train searched for the woman, but they were unable to find her. The young engineer assumed that the train had hit her and sent her body flying through the air. But they could not find any trace of the woman or her blood. The young engineer continued his journey and would later report to watchmen at the Smithburg Tunnel that his train had hit a woman in the Silver Run Tunnel. But the watchman at the Smithburg Tunnel believed that the young engineer was tired because of the long journey and that he was hallucinating. So the watchman concluded that the young engineer may be telling this unsettling story of the mysterious woman inside Silver Run Tunnel out of his mind. But in the following weeks, the ghost of the young woman made several more appearances at the tunnel, usually during a half moon. The young engineer saw her again, and this time he caught the details of the young woman. She had black hair and white skin, and she wore a white dress. When the train drew its warning whistle, a loud crying sound came from the ghostly woman. Then the woman in white flew up into the air and disappeared. The young engineer started seeing the ghost of the young woman more frequently when passing through the Silver Run Tunnel. Each time he saw the ghost, his train would stop, and the ghostly figure of the woman would flee upward and disappear into the air. Then the young engineer talked about this scary incident to other railway employees, but the railway officials did not believe the story and transferred him to a different line. They replaced him with an Irish railway engineer named Flannery. But the rumors of the ghost of White Lady haunting inside the Silver Run Tunnel began to spread across the state of West Virginia. The Irish railway engineer, Flannery, was a veteran railroader who operated or managed the railroad. He mocked the ghost stories of the woman who was haunting the tunnel. Flannery is new in the state of West Virginia and hasn't yet run into the ghost of Silver Run Tunnel. He had never seen a ghost in his life and claimed that he didn't believe in ghosts. He also called the other young engineer who saw the ghost of the White Lady a fool and a liar. Flannery laughed and swore that no ghost was going to stop his train. He said that if he saw the ghost of the young woman while driving his train, there was no way he would slow down his train. He would simply run down his train right through the ghost. About 2 weeks later, on a cool autumn night, as Flannery's train was nearing the Silver Run Tunnel, he noticed a flickering white figure along the railway tracks near the entrance to the tunnel. On seeing the young woman standing there, he was very surprised. The woman still keeps standing and never moves from the railway tracks. Flannery was shocked, and just as he promised, he drove the train right through the woman and continued on his way to the other stations. He watched in fear and wonder as the ghost of the young woman screamed and flew into the air. His heart was beating very fast over the experience, and his mind was thinking, what if he had actually hit someone by his train and killed in cold blood? Then, on the way to the next station in Parkersburg, some railway workers along the track, such as signalmen and section men, were desperately waving their hands at his trains along the tracks. Then Flannery starts noticing that a large number of people riding horses were following his train, and some of them were yelling and waving at his train. However, when he pulled into Parkersburg station, he got a terrible horror. As he was pulling his train into his final stop at Parkersburg station that night, he not only met up with other railroad employees, but also with the group of people following his train. Those groups of people that have literally followed him most of the way down the train tracks ask him, "Where is she?" Flannery began to panic, fearing he had actually hit and killed a living person by his train. He got confused and said, "Where is who?" He again said, "You mean the ghost back in the tunnel?" They said, "Where is the lady in the white dress that was riding on the cowcatcher of your train?" A cowcatcher is a strong frame on the front of a train for throwing obstacles off the track. Actually, the ghost of the White Lady was standing on the cowcatcher of the train, and she was waving her hand at people who were standing near the railway line. Many railway workers along the way also reported that a young woman was actually standing on the cowcatcher of Flannery's train. They can clearly see the White Lady due to the illumination from his train's massive headlight. But when Flannery stopped his train at Parkersburg station, fog covered the train, and the ghost disappeared. So Flannery started to believe that the White Lady that was riding on the cowcatcher of his train was definitely the ghost of the young woman that is haunting the Silver Run Tunnel. But the railway official told him he would lose his job if he passed on the spooky tales of the Silver Run Tunnel to other employees. Then the next day, Flannery returned his train from Parkersburg Station and again saw the white lady standing inside the Silver Run tunnel. This time he had enough of the ghost, and after his final stop, he requested a transfer to the railway official. Then he was finally transferred to another railway line. After this incident, the telegraph office in Parkersburg Station began getting strange messages about the ghost of the white lady from every station between the office and Silver Run tunnel. So, the railway official began an inquiry about the ghost of a white lady who is haunting the Silver Run tunnel. According to their investigation, the white lady that is haunting the Silver Run tunnel is actually the ghost of a young woman who was killed on a train passing through the tunnel. It was said that a young woman who had disappeared on a train 25 years earlier was on her way to the city of Parkersburg. Many believed that the young woman was to be married, as she was wearing a long white gown. The young woman was riding the train passing through the Silver Run tunnel to meet her fiancé in Parkersburg and get married. But she never arrived at Parkersburg railway station. She just disappeared mysteriously after leaving the train, and no one had seen her again. After she was reported missing, a full-scale search operation was done, but the young woman's body was never found. No one knew what had happened to the young woman. Some say she fell off the train and was killed, while others say she was murdered and her body was thrown from the train. But in the 1940s, some part of the Silver Run tunnel was torn down. During that process, workers found the skeleton of a woman buried inside the wall of the Silver Run tunnel. The workers knew it was the skeleton of a woman because it had long hair and wore a white gown dress. Although the remains of the skeleton were never identified and people have no idea who she really was and why she was murdered. Then the skeleton was given a proper burial in an old cemetery next to the Silver Run tunnel. After this funeral, the spirit of the young lady seemed to be at peace, as the ghost of Silver Run was never seen again. Today this tunnel was abandoned, and no train uses it anymore, but some bikers and hikers going through the Silver Run tunnel occasionally report seeing a strange white figure floating along the tunnel.